Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Silver the Hedgehog here, and I am back for some more yet again for the likes of the Mekkai Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Kirby Superstar Ultra for the Nintendo DS. So last time we have basically just went through, I believe, we managed to traverse through 5 planets, unless if you count that particular flashing star over there. So technically speaking, we went on to 5 different planets, whilst the forms of that particular hidden area does also count as well for that particular copy ability. So anyways, today for this episode is the fact that we're also able to wrap things up in terms of Milky Way Wishes by going through the last 2 planets before we hit on to the last final frontier during the course of the actual Nova itself. And to begin with, let's get into the forms of the actual machine planet known as Mekkai. Whilst the forms of the original Super Nintendo version, they just somehow calls it Mekkai, which actually represents the forms of metallical look. So I've no idea why they managed to change the name specifically, but either way though, I guess that makes it pretty obvious for specific slight differences from here. So and obviously, this particular planet does contain 2 copy abilities deluxes that we do need to get. So, I believe the first one is actually on the, you need to take the higher level, so that way we can able to actually just to come across into that one particular room which does contain a gust of wind, but we do need to enter that door over there. So, I guess we should probably... Can you get off me, Chili? Thank you. Don't screw me up again, because otherwise, if you just somehow manage to make me drop down significantly, then I won't be able to get a chance to enter that door, you know? So anyways, from here we get ourselves the Yoyo copy ability deluxe, so that way we can now use that anytime now. So, which is pretty awesome, because I like to able to defend myself for certain attacks and all that jazz. So, but either way though, let's not worry about this too much, because obviously, it sends about the fact that we're almost nearly at the end of Milky Way Wishes, because after all, as I said before, that we've only got about 2 planets left, so before we get on to the final portion of Milky Way Wishes. So, now of course, we're going to have to deal with the forms of the open door switches, so that way we can able to act out, well, just try to run fast basically, in order to able to actually just to proceed to this particular segment. And then if you do that, then you hop onto the next segment, which if I were you, just trying to go all the way higher up until you get to the highest level, as you can see on screen, and head over to the left, and after when you take down this Iron Man, which appears to be more accurately the exact same name as the Iron Man Marvel superhero, kind of think about it bizarrely enough, and once you take him down, or her down I should say, then you're able to get yourselves the Plasma ability, and that way we can able to actually use that at any point. And by the way, jackpot in between extra lives as well as maximum tomato, so how's that for that? Especially noticeable that we actually got ourselves 11 extra lives. I'm pretty sure that Duffy technically did this trick, but even though it has been ages since I actually researched upon our Let's Play of Kirby Superstar, but either way though, let's not worry about this too much. So, here we go, face off against with, oh, we have ourselves a silver version of Heavy Lobster, which is kind of convenient, that is. But, either way though, let's go ahead and try to take him down. So, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but, I don't know if the paint ability does become a thing, but even then though, it wasn't until when Kirby Star Allies come in, and basically the paint ability does exist, so yeah, I thought to myself for that. So anyways, let's go ahead and just use the Hammer copy ability deluxe again, so that way we can able to deal the massive amount of damage on Heavy Lobster from the silver metallical variation of, you know, Heavy Lobster. And since we did manage to beat the crap out of him, that means that, well, we actually got ourselves our 6th star we got. So now we have only got 1 star left, which now appears to be by the forms of, well, the last planet, which appears to be Eternal Planet Halfmoon. And basically, this is where it takes place into outer space, basically. So even then though, let's get this thing to it. And much like the forms of Mekkai, basically it's the fact that this particular planet also contains 2 copy ability deluxes. So And I think fundamentally speaking, the remaining copy abilities are Mirror and Ninja, as far as I can usually think about that. So, you can also just manage to use the Warp Stars if you like to travel a bit more faster. Well, I don't know about you, but even then though, compared to the forms of how it does it on, in our Let's Play of Kirby Superstar on the Super Nintendo, that, for whatever reason, that definitely just managed to do the hard way during the course of the second segment while trying to dodge those electrical bombs and all that stuff, which even then, you know what I mean whenever we get into that room, so... But first of all, let's have a ride on that particular minecart before we do anything else. And the reason being for that is because, well, if we continuously go on to the right, then we soon to find out this particular familiar block that we do need to destroy. And head over to this door while not doing a buddy jump, and you found out that you found a Mirror Copy Ability Deluxe. So, pretty swell and awesome at the same time. Although, unfortunately though, that definitely did manage to take a death during that particular segment, by the way, so yeah, I thought to myself about that. So, anyway though, so let's go ahead and just keep on moving while trying to able to actually activate those particular stumps in particular, so that way we can proceed. And yeah, this is the part I was talking about. Normally, definitely did done the hardest method, but for me, I'm gonna go for the easier method by skipping all that. So because of that though, although you will bypass the maximum tomato, and especially noticeable with that extra life completely, but apart from those side of things though, I honestly don't mind for bypassing these completely. So anyways, let's go ahead and take down these all sorts of mini bosses here. Such as, like, you know, Sheriff, I can't remember what his name was though, I do apologize for that. But, anyway, so let's go all the way up, and, I suppose that, we do need any abilities, except, some exceptions, but usually I'm just gonna go for, the Mirror Copy ability for this particular last Copy Ability Deluxe to obtain. That we have to destroy that particular bomb block that is usually located in here, and enter that door over there, and you'll found out you found the final Copy Ability Deluxe, which is Ninja, of course. Behold, Ninja Power. Like, I'm just trying to referencing that from Sonic Heroes when Espio, the chameleon, managed to say that. In fact, when I was, since I'm Silver the Hedgehog, and that means that I somehow meet up with him ever since in Sonic Rivals 2, but usually for child disappearances, while Eggman Nega managed to try to screw up the future. Like, you know what I mean if you ever played Sonic Rivals 2 before on the PSP. So, anyways, let's use the hammer again, and thankfully we got Bonkers with us as our teammate, and you're trying to take on the forms of the computer virus ever since in the Great Cave Offensive. Except now that we actually, well, we still need to deal with the Magician and all that stuff, but later on though we'll come across into two new enemies, which there are, well, obviously one over there, which is of course an evil knight. So you can easily just try to take him down like no sweat if you try to able to charge up your hammer attack, and despite the fact I just got frozen twice, but hopefully we'll get our ability back. Oh, dang it! I was so close to finish you off by 6 health left. Oh, jeez, it's been like the Great Cave Offensive all over again, except rather than collecting treasures. So, and here's the old Raid Dragon, or the Great Dragon we need to face off against, and he has a lot of health right there. But again, if you're having trouble just try to able to dodge those incoming attacks, well, be sure to block just in case for protective protection or something like that. So, again, I have no idea why I say things quite weird recently, but that's only because, well, obviously today's day is of course the 15th of January today, in this case in 2021, and it looks like we're now on the halfway point in January already. Even though despite the fact that this year doesn't go in a really great start, mind you, because of, you know what I mean, and hopefully things get a bit better by the time until February, because until then, that Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is getting close to release. So I'm very very excited for that game. Especially noticeable that I absolutely enjoy the Wii U version. And hopefully I can able to replay that game again, except on the go. But anyway, enough about that jibby jabber. Once you finish all 7 of those planets, then the Galactic Nova appears. And convenient enough, let's go and approach towards him and grant a wish to able to stop the Sun and Moon from fighting. You know, this plot actually reminds me of so much of Mario Party 6, even though I've already explained about that ever since the very beginning of this Milky Way Wishes, but hey. Ready? I will grant you one wish. Well, I want to control Popstar. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. So it looks like the Marx managed to able to pull off a trick. I did it. Or it all went according to plan. I got the Sun and Moon to fight. I got you to go into space. It was all according to my perfect little plan. So now Popstar is mine. All mine. Now I can cause all the mischief that I want. And I somehow missed out all the actual text readings, so I must admit that I do apologize for that. And much like the Super Nintendo, that with all 7 of those rainbow stars combined, this meaning about the fact that we actually managed to ride on the starship. And I do apologize with the actual frame rate doesn't matches up the actual game's audio as well. Probably it's because sometimes the emulator can sometimes doesn't run perfectly on my computer and stuff. But I'm sure enough though you can see the screen just fine. So that all does matter to me though. So anyways, now the fact that the Galactic Nova was actually charging straight through Popstar, and it's up to Kirby to able to stop the actual Nova, while the Galactic Nova, as well as the forms of Marx's control. So beneath Nintendo, and basically in this part, it's the fact that we have to dodge a lot of those obstacles in particular, including some of those enemies that are trying to able to come close to you. And it kind of reminds me of those particular R-type shooting kind of games, except, well, this is a Kirby game after all, so beneath Nintendo, that makes it unique and interesting at the same time, so. But obviously just be careful though, because otherwise if you manage to get hit by those tons of objects during the course of the actual, the stage itself, can really give you a massive hit point. And as a result, if you manage to low on health, then obviously you instantly die, and you have to restart the whole segment again. But that's fine, because I actually got a whole bunch of extra lives, even though I did really try my best to able to do a perfect run-through in terms of Milky Way Wishes. I certainly did try, but most of the time that I blame on my emulator controls and all that stuff though, because, well, I just wish if I was gonna able to get the 3DS capture card, but it might no longer support it just because the 3DS is discontinued recently. Well, at least ever since for about a couple of months ago, so either way though, I was like, you know what, whatever, we'll just go ahead and deal with it anyway, so. Anyways though, so we can't use any of those Kirby abilities on these segments because, as I said this before, we're obviously going to be able to ride on the forms of that particular starship. In fact, during the course of the DS remake, which I'm not going to spoil things too much just yet, because obviously we still ended up on the forms of Milky Way Wishes. So once you bypass this auto-scrolling segment, then we can take on new forms of the Galactic Nova Nucleus or something like that. So that way you have to take down all few of those segments of the actual Galactic Nova's counterparts. Even though it gets a bit tricky though, especially because the actual screen just keeps on like scrolling and stuff like that. And every once in a while though, they're trying to able to switch things around by simply manage to make you go either all the way to the right or far to the left, all that jazz. And as you can see, I've almost gonna die there. But I'm really hoping that the checkpoints were able to actually just make things a little bit generous with me. So, well, thankfully that might be seems the case, mind you. So at least we should be okay as it is. So let's take this part down, and we'll take this part down, and we are good to go. Once that part is done, we have ourselves our next cutscene, where basically one of those galactic nova parts actually just got exploded. And seems that the entire thing wasn't exactly over yet, because otherwise we still need to stop Marx for taking over Popstar. Such as we're actually in right now. Even though that we are a little bit of health left, so I guess I should might as well able to take myself my actual death here, just because I just can't guarantee to do this with a little bit of health. So with that being said, I'll just simply just keep on getting hit and just take a death right there. So, but thankfully we actually respawn onto this specific point, luckily, so we can at least try this again. So here we go, folks, onto the final boss. In terms of Kirby Superstar, the actual game, we have Marx, and she is essentially one of the trickiest boss fights in the game. Because, for one thing, she has multiple attacks that she can able to actually just try to able to dodge. Well, sometimes it might be pretty easy to dodge, but most of the time it is really tricky to dodge for certain attacks. Mainly with the forms of that surprise attack right there. Frankly, if you manage to use the hammer while dealing with the actual charged up hammer attack, you can able to do quite a bit of amount of damage. And son of a biscuit, what most of these bosses can almost take it down with a little bit of health left. But thankfully, we did manage to deal with her, so... And what's interesting is the fact that unlike the Super Nintendo counterpart of Marx's boss fight, normally it is managed able to shatter it in half and able to actually just to kill her instantly. Well, on a DS remake, she just simply gets defeated, which meaning about the fact that, well, we'll talk more details about this whenever we get into the very end of this particular part, so... But there he goes, and, well, the end. That's what the actual game accordingly to tell us, so... At least to be more specifically though, because in the original Super Nintendo version of, you know, Kirby Superstar, that Marx was the final boss of the game. In fact, just recently, during the course of about almost 3 years ago, is that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate did manage to able to bring Marx as in the forms of that particular boss battle in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is pretty awesome, all things considered. Especially noticeable if you're trying to play as, like, you know, Kirby, Rosalina, and Luma, or even one of those Inkling players, likely the female version or the male version, or especially noticeable with, well, Sephiroth recently. So, yeah, that's as far as I can usually think about this. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. And seems to be more specifically, we have basically managed to 100% everything in terms of Milky Way Wishes. And overall, I gotta say, I had a really good time. Sure, I did manage to have myself 3 deaths on it so far. To be more specifically, one of them involves around in, well, I would say for classify for saying, actually I think I actually lost count. Oh wait a second, it was actually 2 deaths, actually, because one death I actually keep on getting hit multiple times on that, predictably in a Galactica, or the Galactic Nova segment, you know, with that ultra-scrolling segment, and also I take my second death due to the forms of the final boss of the game, but it doesn't really matter though, because since I'm a Kirby fanatic, this means I'm pretty much able to actually know what I was expecting it to do, but I digress. But of course I'm not exactly good at able to give my final thoughts of the actual remake just yet though, because as far as the remake suggests, that there's going to be some more content compared to the forms of how it does it in the original Super Nintendo counterpart. Because obviously, ever since in Kirby Superstar, the original game, obviously it contains likely 7 games all in one. Predictably in one particular cartridge, whilst the forms of the actual, the box art of Kirby Superstar / Kirby's Fun Pack, that in the European version as far as I like to say, basically it's the fact that it did say 6 games in one, which meaning about the fact that you'll be experiencing 6 different adventures in the Kirby games in one particular cartridge. So, yeah, that seems very obvious for that standard stuff though, really. So, but I digress, and you can definitely see the actual familiar footage, or that familiar photos there, as you can see on this little credit sequence, which does remind me of the similarities as in the later Kirby games. To be more specifically, let's just say Kirby's Adventure Wii, aka Kirby's Return to Dreamland, And there is also, I'm pursuing Kirby Triple Deluxe or something like that, even though it has been a while since I actually did manage to play Kirby Triple Deluxe, but I haven't exactly 100% that game yet. Especially noticeable with Planet Robobot, because good lord, Planet Robobot definitely has the more of the toughest 100% requirements throughout the whole game. And I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, because I was thought to myself because of the forms of one of those collectibles can be pretty much randomized. But, oh well, whatever. At least it's still fun to play through, but I digress. So it looks like the credit sequence is almost over and finished, but hey, at least it's like a proper credit sequence as opposed to likely a quick credit sequence, unlike in the Spring Breeze, and especially noticeable with yeah, I think it's like Spring Breeze. It gets like a quick credit sequence or something like that. So but I digress. And yeah, that's pretty much about it in terms of Milky Way Wishes. I did have a really good time on this particular game mode, even though it almost reminds me of the Great Cape Offensive, except rather than getting treasures and all that jazz, which I've already explained about this long enough as it is, so, and there's more to come. So, for instance, that once you've completely done with Milky Way Wishes, in addition to able to unlocking the arena, ever since in the Super Nintendo version, and also you're able to actually unlock the sound test, which, unlike the Super Nintendo counterpart, you do need to able to unlock the sound test if you're completely done with the arena for the first time, as well as one of the first newer games that is actually introduced in this remake, which appears to be Revenge of the King. Which is kind of interesting because normally on the Super Nintendo version that we don't have that Revenge of the King game, but it might be pretty interesting to see how that game actually gonna plays out to be. So with that being said, I suppose we should probably end things off at this point right here. So yeah, join me next time on Let's Play Kirby Superstar Ultra. It's the fact that we're going to be taking on the arena first, even though originally I was going to able to hit on to the Revenge of the King, but I'm actually going to be taking on the forms of the arena first, because much like the Super Nintendo version of this playthrough, I feel like just go for the actual order. So yeah, things get a bit interesting. So I'll see you guys until on Monday.